Sometimes it hits you in a small, quiet moment. You're standing in a group, maybe at work or school, and everyone laughs at something you didn't quite catch. You smile anyway. You nod. But inside, there's a quick drop, like you missed a step on the stairs. Nothing dramatic happened. No one said anything unkind. So why does it still linger? If you've ever felt left out more easily than others, even in places where you technically belong, this is for you. We're going to slow it down and name what's happening, without turning it into a big story. Feeling left out easily isn't always about other people. Often, it's a pattern where your attention is tuned toward signs of distance or exclusion, even when the situation itself is neutral or unclear. One common reason is that your mind learned early to scan for belonging. For some people, fitting in wasn't guaranteed growing up. Maybe you had to read the room carefully, adjust yourself, or notice subtle shifts in mood. Nothing extreme, just enough that you learned to stay alert. Over time, your brain got good at watching for signals of in or out. So later in life, even small pauses, inside jokes, or missed context can feel louder than they are. You might notice yourself replaying a moment, wondering what you missed, even when everyone else has already moved on. Sometimes, it comes from being more aware than average. If you naturally notice tone, timing, and subtle changes in people, you also notice absence more clearly. Who didn't respond? Who spoke to whom? Who wasn't included in the plan? This awareness can be a strength, but it can also turn inward. Your mind starts filling in gaps before you have real information. So when a conversation shifts or a group dynamic changes, your first thought isn't curiosity, it's self-questioning. And that questioning can feel a lot like being left out. There's also a quieter layer that often sits underneath: comparison. In many spaces, especially social ones, you only see the surface of how others connect. They look relaxed. They seem effortlessly included. When you compare your inner uncertainty to their outer ease, it can feel like you're the only one on the outside. The gap isn't always real, but it feels real. So even normal moments, like not being invited once, or not knowing a reference, can take on more weight than they deserve. Here's how this can look in real life. It's late afternoon, and you're scrolling through your phone during a break. You see a photo, a few people you know, together somewhere casual. No big event. Just coffee, maybe a walk. You weren't invited, or maybe you didn't even know it was happening. Your chest tightens a little. You start telling yourself a story before you mean to. Maybe they're closer than you thought. Maybe you don't quite fit. You keep scrolling, but the feeling sticks around longer than the image did. If you've been there, you're not strange. You might know someone who lives like this. This is what feeling left out can look like when it's subtle. It doesn't announce itself. It just quietly asks, what does this say about me? What makes this tricky is that the feeling often shows up faster than facts. Your body reacts before your mind has a chance to catch up. By the time you remind yourself there could be a dozen neutral explanations, the heaviness is already there. And because you don't want to overreact, you keep it to yourself. On the outside, you look fine. On the inside, you're sorting through something that feels personal, even if it isn't. There are a couple of gentle ways people sometimes ease this moment, without forcing themselves to feel different. One is to pause the story, not the feeling. When that sense of being left out shows up, try noticing what you actually know versus what you're assuming. Not in a harsh, corrective way. Just quietly. For example, I saw a photo. I don't know how it came together. That's it. You're not trying to convince yourself of anything. You're just separating facts from the extra meaning your mind added. This can take a little pressure off, because it gives the feeling less material to work with. Another is to widen the frame. Instead of asking, why wasn't I included? You might gently wonder, how many moments like this happen that I never see? Most connection happens in fragments: chance timing, convenience, shared routines. When you remember that inclusion isn't a fixed status but something that shifts from moment to moment, the experience can feel less like a verdict and more like a snapshot. But there's something else here that often gets missed. For many people, feeling left out easily isn't about wanting more attention. It's about wanting steadiness. Your mind is trying to answer a simple question: am I okay here? When the answer isn't immediately clear, it keeps checking. That checking can look like sensitivity, but underneath it is a desire for safety and place. This is especially true for people who tend to reflect more than they react. You might be someone who listens closely, who thinks before speaking, who notices patterns others skip over. In loud or fast-moving environments, that can make you feel one step behind, even if you're not. The gap isn't about worth. It's about pace. So if you find yourself feeling left out easily, it may not mean you don't belong. It may mean you're wired to notice connection deeply, and gaps in it feel louder to you. This is for people who look calm on the outside, but quietly wonder where they stand. You don't have to toughen up or pretend it doesn't matter. Sometimes, understanding why the feeling shows up is enough to soften it. Not to erase it, but to let it pass through without sticking as long. And if this felt familiar, you're welcome to stay here for more quiet explanations like this, one feeling at a time.